NFTs. Gaming companies keep trying to integrate them into games, but so far they've proven to be unsuccessful. Ubisoft kind of tried to kick things off with Ubisoft Quartz. That didn't go particularly well, and since a bunch of companies have tried to integrate them as well, but they've backed out, either because there was so much backlash that they're like, nope, that's not worth it, or because they've been doing so poorly that they're like, this is just not worth putting our efforts into. But it doesn't mean that other companies aren't trying to still normalize them. YouTube recently replaced their CEO with someone who is bullish about NFTs. Square Enix is really bullish about NFTs, as I've reported recently. But we're looking at a situation now where NFTs are doing poorly enough that Meta is backing out of NFTs. This is the company that's trying to normalize the metaverse and trying to make that mainstream. That hasn't been going particularly well. But on the Instagram, Facebook, and social media side of things, they've tried to integrate NFTs and get people bullish about this, but it hasn't worked out. Back in May of 2022, Instagram started to test NFTs with select creators this week as of the reporting of this particular story. And then a couple weeks later, on June 30th, 2022, Facebook began testing NFTs with select creators in the US. And that was an endeavor that didn't really gain enough traction for Meta to deem it a worthwhile endeavor. They tried to expand things further in August of 2022 by expanding NFT support on Instagram to 100 countries. But even then, the endeavor didn't prove to be fruitful enough for them to retain NFTs. And so not too long ago, on March 13th, 2023, Stefan Kasriel, leading commerce and fintech at Meta, posted the following. Some product news across the company. We're looking closely at what we prioritize to increase our focus. We're winding down digital collectibles, NFTs, for now to focus on other ways to support creators, people, and businesses. When even Meta is starting to lose enthusiasm for NFTs, you know that the whole landscape really is not taking off. If they couldn't get NFTs to gain traction through Facebook and Instagram, two of the biggest social media platforms in the world, then yeah, it's clear that the masses just don't really care much for NFTs, aren't particularly interested in partaking in what is very much just an investment landscape. It's just its own little economy that people can gamble their money on to see if they can make it big. It's just like stock trading, except you're trading in digital assets with no value, really, JPEGs that you can just download, assets that don't really exist. Stefan continues here, proud of the relationships we built and look forward to supporting the many NFT creators who continue using Instagram and Facebook to amplify their work. We learned a ton that we'll be able to apply to products we're continuing to build to support creators, people, and businesses on our apps, both today and in the metaverse. That's something that they're still not giving up on, despite losing like dozens of billions. So instead of prioritizing NFTs for Instagram and Facebook, what they'll be doing is creating opportunities for creators and businesses to connect with their fans and monetize remains a priority. And we're going to focus on areas where we can make impact at scale, such as messaging and monetization ops for Reels. And then other priorities that Stefan details here is that we'll continue investing in fintech tools that people and businesses will need for the future. We're streamlining payments with Meta Pay, making checkout and payouts easier, and investing in messaging payments across Meta. Basically, they want to boost the creator landscape of Instagram and Facebook. And honestly, I'd say this is the better business move than trying to lean into NFTs. And at the same time, this all validates the general notion that NFTs are really not gaining traction after the brief period of hype that it got throughout late 2021 and early 2022. Interest surrounding NFTs have completely fallen off and crashed. Google searches surrounding NFTs have just plummeted. And sales of NFTs, trading of NFTs is happening among just the most hardcore enthusiasts, but among the masses, there's very little to no interest. So Meta is winding down support for NFTs on Instagram and Facebook. This has been reported by multiple outlets, including TechCrunch and The Verge. And The Verge in particular highlights here that the market collapsed in 2022 and shed billions in value after stratospheric levels of hype in early 2021. Again, companies are still trying to make the masses bullish about NFTs because they need to find new ways to try to make their companies grow, try to find new business models because they're running out of ideas of ways to maintain an infinite growth that is unsustainable. And so you've got Starbucks selling a collection of NFTs. Frickin' Sesame Street just announced an NFT collaboration. This is a kids show we're talking about that's promoting what is essentially a less stable, a more speculative version of stock trading, which is in essence gambling your money in the hopes that you'll make it big. Now, part of the reason for why Meta is backing out of NFTs is because Mark Zuckerberg has committed to making this year, 2023, the year of efficiency, by which he means not taking accountability for his failures as a leader, and instead cutting costs in ways that negatively impacts the employees who were following the leader who failed to lead, engaging in bureaucracy, and most recently, laying off more than 10,000 employees. And keep in mind that this is on top of the 11,000 who were laid off last November. Meta will lay off around 10,000 employees, and 5,000 open roles at the company will be cut in the coming months, adding to the 11,000 layoffs last November. That's roughly 21,000 employees who Mark Zuckerberg has completely mismanaged and whose lives he's turned upside down. Now, this round of layoffs will happen gradually. Layoffs begin with recruiting teams tomorrow, March 15th, as of the reporting of the story, while other employees find out if their position is cut in April and May. So they're supposed to keep working under the threat of having their livelihoods upended. In some cases, Zuckerberg noted these changes may not happen until the end of 2023, and international teams may not share the same timeline. And the justification that Mark Zuckerberg provided is that he believes flatter is faster, leaner is better, too many cooks in the kitchen, so, let's get rid of some of the cooks. But it was Mark Zuckerberg's leadership that led to Meta hiring 21,000 too many cooks in the kitchen. It was his leadership that brought about the sort of job instability for employees who are scared of losing their jobs in this company that just doesn't really seem to be able to manage their employees properly, manage their business strategies properly, wasting billions of dollars in this frickin' metaverse crap, money that could go to keeping employees employed. But Mark Zuckerberg, at the end of the day, needs to appeal to investors, as corporations tend to do. Mark Zuckerberg insists here that since we reduced our workforce last year, one surprising result is that many things have gone faster. In retrospect, I underestimated the indirect costs of lower priority projects. Yes, Mark Zuckerberg, there were a lot of misguided judgments that you made, and yet the ones who are punished for it are the employees. A complete lack of accountability. He's just saying the words that people want to hear, but not actually taking real responsibility as the captain of this ship. A lean organization will execute its highest priorities faster. People will be more productive, and their work will be more fun and fulfilling. Spoken like a true corporate executive who has no idea or who has lost sight of what it's like to be a ground floor developer. I don't know of any employee who feels like they'll have more fun and feel more fulfilled with the threat of getting laid off looming as Mark Zuckerberg continues to fire thousands, tens of thousands of people at a time. I don't know what's so fun and fulfilling about watching morale drop as thousands upon thousands of cohorts get laid off, as current employees watch their friends and colleagues just face unjust circumstances because of Mark Zuckerberg's piss-poor leadership, his obsession with the metaverse, and his overindulgence in NFTs that now he's forced to back up on or backtrack on. Will become an even greater magnet for the most talented people. I don't know how laying off 21,000 people will inspire onlookers to be like, yeah, that's a company I want to work for. That's why in our year of efficiency, we're focused on canceling projects that are duplicative or lower priority and making every organization as lean as possible. Mark Zuckerberg also excuses all of this as a byproduct of a difficult economic environment and said that 2022 was a humbling wake-up call. We'd believe you were humbled if it actually looked like you were taking responsibility. If you pulled something like Iwata did by cutting the salaries of executives to retain employees, actions that show you genuinely care about your staff and you acknowledge that you made a mistake guiding the ship in the wrong direction. All Mark Zuckerberg is doing is just spouting the same old PR statements that aim to save face while engaging in actions that don't reflect his words or the intent that his words aim to express. Mark Zuckerberg also patted himself in the back by saying that, well, this time we made the announcement earlier, allowing for more transparency sooner. You deciding to relay bad news earlier as a result of your poor leadership doesn't make you a better leader. A good leader would try to save these 11,000 jobs or not overhire people to a point that is unsustainable. It goes without saying that Mark Zuckerberg's statements and justification motivations and excuses did not go over well with employees. The Washington Post reports here that Meta employees grilled Mark Zuckerberg at all-hands meeting following layoffs. The chief executive faced questions including how employees are supposed to trust him. You shouldn't trust him. He's shown that time and again. Mark Zuckerberg, of course, defended his leadership, but Zuckerberg was asked some tough questions like how employees are expected to trust the company's leadership after 2 rounds of layoffs, each of them in the range of 5 figures. He said he would expect to be evaluated based on the company's performance and transparency about its mission, but that leaders should be allowed to change their thinking. Well, that's a classic corporate mindset. All we care about is how the company is doing, while the people, the human beings working underneath us, they're just tools, vehicles to drive company performance. As long as the company's performing well, the human beings, who gives a damn? Treating people humanely is second to ensuring that the company continues to grow in an unsustainably infinite way. How employees, how human beings feel about the way they're being treated and the stability of the employment, all that stuff shouldn't factor into whether I'm a good leader as long as I'm getting results. The ends justify the means, even if the means are morally questionable, so long as the company results are shining brightly. Here's a direct quote from Mark Zuckerberg. I would guess that the way people would evaluate whether you trust me and want to work at this company and whether we are succeeding and making progress towards the overall stated goals. I think a lot of this is about the results we're able to deliver. There's not a shred of humanity or empathy towards the employees who are grinding and working hard to make the company's goals and results possible while Mark Zuckerberg sits on his ivory tower. Zuckerberg was also asked another question. Why did the company announce an organization-wide restructuring and layoff plan 4 months after the CEO told staffers in a company-wide meeting in November that he didn't anticipate having to make those kinds of cuts again for the foreseeable future? Again, you cannot trust them. This is what CEOs do. This is what executives do. They lie. They save face. They want to give off a certain vibe, but ultimately, they make decisions on a whim based on what feels like it'll produce better results for investors and for the company. And look, don't get me wrong, a business is a business and results are important, but you got to find a balance where it shows that you're also humane about how you treat the people that make your company possible. As these tough questions were asked, Mark Zuckerberg failed to respond in any substantial way. He brought up excuses like, we got economic pressures that we have to deal with while the company makes billions upon billions, dozens of billions of dollars every year, every quarter, whatever. Zuckerberg was also asked about the future prospects of remote work, and he said it's an ongoing conversation. No definitive answer there. Another layer of uncertainty that employees have to deal with. For now, though, the company has made the decision to pause most remote hiring for now, so we can kind of see the direction that they're leaning towards. Another employee's question concerned how Meta's workers could be productive as the threat of layoffs and project cuts loomed over their heads, diminishing morale, making employees work as they fear for their livelihoods, which doesn't lend itself to the most productive work environment. You can't do your best work when you're constantly just stressed out over what the future might hold for you. Zuckerberg acknowledged that announcing the layoff plans ahead of time creates a period of uncertainty, but said that it's not like we can just pause working while we're figuring this out. He's basically saying, hey, power through it regardless of how we treat you, because it's your job to do so, and you are the tools and vehicles towards my and the company's results and success. These executives just live on such a completely different world from the ground floor workers that they lose complete sight of what it's like to be down there, to be doing the work that goes thankless more often than not with the executives who are just steering the ship in all kinds of weird ways. They're the ones who get all of the applause for company successes that the employees helped shape, but it's those very same employees who get punished when leadership makes the decisions that leads the company to financial results that are less than ideal. It's just this really messed up structure. And Mark Zuckerberg, the lack of empathy in all the words that he speaks, the way he addresses his employees, the way every time Mark Zuckerberg makes a misguided decision, all he says is whoopsies, and then makes employees take the fall for his misguided decision as employees who were just doing what Mark Zuckerberg told them to do. That's just complete and utter failure in leadership that executives like Mark Zuckerberg will never ultimately own up to. And these failures continue to show through the way Reality Labs, the division behind all of their VR endeavors and the metaverse stuff, is just wasting away billions of dollars. The way they've had to backtrack on NFTs after wasting time, energy, resources, manpower on an endeavor that most people saw the writing on the wall on that it was going to fail. It's all reflective of the kind of leader that Mark Zuckerberg is. And it's a damn shame that so many leaders, quote unquote, and so many CEOs and corporate heads are like him. But hey, on the bright side, it pleases me greatly to see NFTs continue to fail in their current useless, exploitative, and financially dangerous state. Companies have tried to make every attempt possible to try to normalize NFTs, but in their current implementation so far, none of it has taken off. And thankfully, that means that their integration in games has slowed down dramatically because companies are just not seeing the results that they want to see. Again, to them, the results are all that matter. So as long as that continues to be the case, we can prolong the integration of NFTs into video games, and hopefully that can be permanent so long as NFTs remain useless, exploitative, and financially dangerous. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Meta backtracking on NFTs, at least when it comes to their major social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.